by the actor Stephen Colbert last night. Let's go ahead and show the kickoff of the disinformation.
Anyway, he is a terrible person who lies for a living. And for the first time this week, Jones has had to answer for one of his mad ramblings because he just settled a defamation lawsuit filed against him by Greek yogurt manufacturer Chobani.
Colbert, you say that I'm a horrible person that lies to people for a living because in my 21 years plus on air, I've done 3 retractions when major newspapers do them every single day. And this coming from an actor that poses as a news reporter so that you can engage in fraud and deceive your viewers and make them believe you're putting out real news. And then you mix the two together.
Against him by Greek yogurt manufacturer Chobani, which explains their new flavor, cash on the bottom.
Oh, and your writers, all 20 of them are so smart. You read off a teleprompter, cash on the bottom flavor. Oh, my goodness. No, this is another famous Stephen Colbert flavor of BS on the bottom.
Chobani sued his ass and his company InfoWars for spreading the false story that they imported migrant rapists and spread tuberculosis. That's ridiculous. That's Yoplay's game.
Look, I'm not out to get Chobani, Mr. Colbert. In fact, several of my children actually like it. I don't like it. I think it's too thick. But let's get serious here. Even the claim that it's Greek yogurt isn't true, and they've been forced to call it Greek-like. Colbert goes on to say that out of my mouth, my manly mouth, I have said that they're importing rapist and tuberculosis when all we did was tweet out somebody else's news article. Again, disinformation after disinformation. But then the big one. He says, listen, it's not Chobani doing that. Everybody knows it's Yoplait that's doing that. So according to his rules, where nobody's allowed to have any satire, that's serious. And Stephen Colbert is saying that Yoplait is bringing in rapist and tuberculosis. So what he claimed I did, but he doesn't have any video of it because I didn't, he is now more guilty than I am of defamation. That's Stephen B.S. Colbert for you.
Imported migrant rapists and spread tuberculosis. That's ridiculous.
That's Yoplay's game.
But it's okay that you're putting words in my mouth and then taking those words and using it against Yoplait for no reason and still acting like it's my fault. Because, again, you're Stephen Colbert. You get to make cock holster jokes about the president. You get to make lesbian jokes. And then claim in a monologue of this character you've created based on me, Tuck Budford, that I'm against lesbians.
And that, brain fighters, is how the lesbian conspiracy has maintained its vice grip on our nation's chia seed supply, all right? It's how they reproduce, okay? It's their demon seed.
The actor Stephen Colbert then claims that the other character, Tuck Budford, was ordered by a court to engage in this retraction or clarification. When, again, it was a private agreement by law that is now bound by the court, and Chobani asked for it to be secret. We didn't, because we are very happy with what happened in the settlement. Very, very happy. And we're happy for Chobani to save face. We're very happy for everybody. But see, now we can't do that because we understand this is a publicity stunt by somebody. Is it CBS? Is it Colbert? Who is it? To drag us through the mud as fake news and to put quotes out there that we didn't say and then to claim we made all these monetary settlements and things to induce others to believe we got a big target painted on our ass to be sued. And that's not how this works. And everybody's going to find out next week because folks are already on notice.
But you know what, I got to say, I feel for Alex Jones. I understand what he's going through because recently, under threat of a lawsuit, my right-wing satirical character, Tuck Buckford, also had to apologize for some slanderous claims he made. And I believe we had the court-ordered video.
But let me be clear to the writers at CBS and the teleprompters and Stephen Colbert and Tuck Buckford. We weren't forced by a court to do a clarification. We did it because it was the right thing to do. When we don't get something completely right, or we tweet somebody else's story, that's what happened, we then go and correct it. That's what newspapers do every day when they retract or clarify. But you wouldn't need to know about that as an actor and a comedian posing as a journalist, would you, that edits videos of mine to where they deceive people?
Now, a sincere, forced apology. During the period of my entire career, certain statements were made on the Brain Fight Twitter feed, YouTube page, company Skywriter, and also for my enormous man mouth with his man words. And I am now legally required to understand those words to be wrong. So I will now offer the issue of the following corrections.
Now, I've noticed a theme by late-night comedians, journalists, you name it, when they're attacking InfoWars. They really get upset. In the old days, we talked about the private Federal Reserve being private. We talked about a global corporate government being set up. But now they lost that fight. Now that's admitted to exist. The whole world's waking up. So they don't attack me on things like that now because it's admitted to be true. That just adds to our credibility. The big thing they're afraid of now is genetic engineering, attacks on the two sexes, and chemical and biological manipulation of the process of reproduction, population control. And then he spends the rest of his diatribe having Tuck Buckford retract satirical elements of things I've really broken down.
I regret that I mischaracterized Virgin Airlines. I do know now that they do not use their planes to spray clouds of Viagra onto our nation's playgrounds to incite an anti-government revolution of unstoppable middle school sex warriors.
So this combines two elements. There is massive geoengineering going on by many governments to control our weather. That's mainstream news. And there is also chemical manipulation of the sexes to reduce fertility. That's been admitted. There it is, the Smithsonian. Airplane contrails may be creating artificial geoengineering. Dissipating haze from plane exhaust. See, now they're not saying ice crystals. We always said it's the exhaust. Bingo! Alters how sunlight reaches the earth and may be unintentionally affecting our climate. No, I have the federal government's patents, and in 1992, there was a science prize won, a Nobel laureate, with a plan to add 3 compounds to jet fuel, kerosene basically, and have it aerosolized through the jet engine to create the nuclei particula to darken the Earth. And since 1993, when it went global in a secret Department of Energy program, the Earth has gone from 8% darker, 15% darker, 20, 25. The last NASA scan is the Earth is 31% darker.
My bad. In addition, I have learned that fruit by the foot is not made out of reptilian skin shed by George Soros.
And then, of course, how do you get people to laugh and celebrate someone that's an admitted Nazi collaborator that's crashed the currencies of more than a dozen countries and admits that they are totally sociopathic?
In the last 2 years, you've been blamed for financial collapse of Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Japan, and Russia.
All of the above.
All of the above.
Yeah. I think that I've been blamed for everything. I am basically there to make money. I cannot and do not look at the social consequences of what I do.
You make jokes about how they're a reptile and how their skin is delicious and how wonderful George Soros is. Again, this is true propaganda placement, training the American people to love hardcore war criminals.
While hundreds of thousands of Hungarian Jews were being shipped off to the death camps, George Soros accompanied his phony godfather on his appointed rounds, confiscating property from the Jews.
You're a Hungarian Jew who escaped the Holocaust by posing as a Christian.
Right.
Lots of people get shipped off to the death camps.
Right. I was 14 years old. And I would say that that's when my character was made.
In what way?
That one should think ahead, one should understand and anticipate events, and one is threatened. It was a tremendous threat of evil. I mean, it was a very personal experience of evil.
I mean, that sounds like an experience that would send lots of people to the psychiatric couch for many, many years. Was it difficult?
Not at all. Not at all. Maybe as a child you don't see the connection, but it created no problem at all.
No feeling of guilt.
No.
But I stand by the idea that George Soros' skin would be a delicious and nutritious treat.
But then they go on to talk about potato chips and the lining and the packaging of those reducing basically male virility. And that's what all the studies show. Not just humans, but other species of animal are having their reproduction brought way down. Bisphenol A and other chemicals are emasculating men and causing massive increases in breast cancer in women. All of this is in thousands of studies and is not even debated now. But what is Stephen Colbert and his writers doing making a joke out of this? It's not just this one show. He does it almost every time, and so does every other major detractor, because the corporatists do not want people looking at this and how our biological development has been captured and is being manipulated. This is the big enchilada.
I also see now, for the first time, that Wise is not coating the inside of its potato chip bags with an emasculating chemical polymer in an attempt to reduce our genitals into hairless mounds easily controlled by psychic Huma Abedin. Nice try, Huma.
Then there's a weird thing about Huma Abedin wanting to shrivel.
All right, and you can see the rest of that report where Alex breaks down point by point. You can see that on the Alex Jones YouTube channel. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
So listen to me carefully. Here's the big news. James Comey in the Senate Judiciary Committee on May 3rd, that's months after the supposed February meeting with the president and the February phone calls, and he said reportedly, gee, I hope you can see your way to not keep this going. Trump says he never said that. Trump said, watch out, I've got tapes. And it just broke. Kit Daniels, Infowars.com, breaking. Comey caught committing perjury to Congress? Question mark? Comey's February memo contradicts May 3rd Senate testimony. Again, my brain is just burning with all the angles here. Let me say it very, very simply. Comey testified May 3rd to the Senate committee, the Senate Judiciary Committee, that there was no outside influence and that Trump had not been trying to influence the Russia investigation and that the FBI had not been told to stand down.
So if the Attorney General or senior officials at the Department of Justice opposes a specific investigation, can they halt that FBI investigation?
In theory, yes.
Has it happened?
Not in my experience, because it would be a big deal to tell the FBI to stop doing something that without an appropriate purpose.
This is months after he reportedly meets with Trump in person and writes this memo where Trump tried to encourage him to drop any type of stuff going forward against Flynn.
And then, according to Comey writing in this memo, the president said, quote, I hope you can see your way to letting this go, to letting Flynn go, referring to the investigation into former National Security Advisor Flynn.
So, is the memo fake? And the FBI leader is going along with the lie? Did he really do the memo? And it's true Trump did it? But then Comey perjured himself to Congress? And said he hadn't been influenced? Or nobody tried to influence him? Any way you slice it, they have been caught in red-handed perjury and fraud and lies. The lesser of is the FBI knows the memo's fake and doesn't exist and has let somebody put out a fake leak and let the lie go out there in an attempt to bring down the president. That's the lesser crime, and it's serious. There's so many crimes there it makes your head spin. Or Comey did have the meeting, did do the memo, and perjured himself to Congress. Or the memo's perjured him. There's no way out of this now. No way out.
Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight. Going to be interviewing in the next hour Daniel Estulin, longtime Bilderberg reporter. He's going to be talking to us about his new movie, Bilderberg the Movie, breaking down what is behind, has been one of the key globalist organizations. They get together at Davos and they talk about what they want to do as globalists. They're very public about what they do there. They invite the press. They do a lot of display and everything. Then they go to Bilderberg where they really do the business. We were covering it in Copenhagen. My wife got pictures of Ball, who was one of the, he was a leading opposition. He was actually the shadow chancellor of the Exchequer at the time, and he was coming in through one of the side gates, and they were asking him for his ID, and he's going through all this jacket. He can't find his ID, and he goes, well, I think it's in my bag. And he had just like, rolling on a piece of luggage, and when he opens it up, nothing but papers, no clothes, all these papers come flying out of there. And he was very embarrassed, and she got it all on tape. And, he lost that next election. He was one of the leading opposition politicians, but they just want to say it's just a friendly meeting. We're just getting together with people, and we want to be able to talk freely, so we don't want any press there, but they're doing some serious business. He had a suitcase full of paperwork. Now, he's not going to put it on his phone. He's not going to put it on his laptop because that's not secure, and they know that. And so we're going to be talking to Daniel Estulin about his movie Bilderberg, about Bilderberg. We're also going to be talking to Jerome Corsi. He has gotten his press credentials to be a White House correspondent. He's going to be talking to us, and of course, his recent article, Defeating the Deep State's Coup d'etat, Counterintelligence Step Number 2, Silencing the Mainstream Media. You have to have another source of information to push back against that. And that's what we're trying to do at this point. So Jerome Corsi is going to be talking to us from Washington. He's going to be coming in. And then we also have Roger Stone joining us to talk about the most recent developments in the conspiracy theories that are being pushed by the Democrats in terms of the Russians trying to hack our elections. As I pointed out, this trip should illustrate everyone who the real foreign powers are who are controlling our election. It's really Saudi Arabia and Israel, where Donald Trump is today. But also, there was some breaking news about this Russian investigation. Former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn has declined a Senate subpoena. I'm sure that Roger Stone will talk about that as well. He has invoked the Fifth Amendment. He had talked to them earlier and said, if you want to give me an immunity deal, I will talk to you. I'm sure that he understands that they're out to get him on trumped-up charges, and they will then try to take those charges and impeach the president. But he has now declined to answer the subpoena. He has invoked the Fifth Amendment. Of course, people didn't really talk about that when Susan Rice said she wasn't going to speak. That really wasn't much news, but you're going to see a lot of news, a lot of people talking about the fact that Flynn doesn't want to talk to them, even though they pretty much ignore the fact that Susan Rice ignored that. One of the things that you can do to support us would be to take a look at the products that we have. And a couple of new products that we have. I voted for Donald, not Ivanka shirt. That's a t-shirt that we have up at InfoWarsStore.com right now, as well as a new product that we put out, Z-Shield Toxic Metal and Chemical Defense Support Formula. That's 25% off retail. This is our introductory pricing at InfoWarsLife.com. It's going to run out pretty soon because we did this as a limited first-time run to try to measure demand out there. That's one of the things we offer people is if you want to sign up for auto ship on products that you try and you like, you can get 10% off of everything that you sign up for with auto ship. And if you have an order as part of your auto ship that is $50 or more, you get that with free shipping. So that's one way that helps us to know what our demand is, as well as to give you savings. It's a win-win situation, or as Alex Jones says, a 360 win. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
You are listening to GCN. Visit GCNlive.com today.
This is the InfoWars Power Pack, and it can start your car if it has a dead battery. And now we're going to use the Power Pack to jumpstart this truck, and we're going to show you. Switch on the Power Pack. Wait a few minutes, and then you'll be able to start your car. With just a few minutes on the InfoWars Battery Pack, you go from a dead battery to this. You get all that cranking power in this little brick. The InfoWars Power Pack is a must-have, and it'll give you peace of mind whether you're at home or on the go. It's so compact, it'll fit in your backpack, your glove box, or even your back pocket. Get one for your home, boat, car, camping setup, or just for emergencies. Secure your peace of mind today and order your InfoWars Power Pack from InfoWarsStore.com or dial 1-888-253-3139 and order today.
Leading a frontal assault on the lies of the New World Order, it's Alex Jones. The answer to 1984 is 1776. You're listening to The Alex Jones Show.
Turkey's President Erdogan's grip over the Turkish people, wherever they may be, is chilling. The Hill reports an NBA player accused the Turkish government of having canceled his passport in Romania as punishment for his critical views of Turkish President Erdogan.
What's up, world? Just want to say we are in Romania, and they said they canceled my passport by Turkish embassy. You know, they've been holding us here for hours by these two police. You know, because the reason behind it is just, of course, my political views, and the guy who did it is, you know, the Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the president of Turkey, and you know, just you guys know him by, you know, he's attacked the people in Washington. He's a bad man. He's a dictator, and he's the Hitler of our century. So I will keep you posted, guys, but just pray for us, and I'll tell you guys what's going on. Appreciate it.
Erdogan, now a self-appointed dictator after resetting the Constitution on April 16, 2017, rolled into Washington, D.C. to meet with President Donald Trump back on May 16th.
Keeping our outstanding relations stronger than ever will be very important, not only for our common interests, but also stability of the globe and peace around the world.
Donald Trump had requested Erdogan release an American pastor from the Turkish prisons, now flooded with teachers, press, and any opposition, ranking first in the world for the imprisonment of journalists after taking that title from China. Erdogan was likely frustrated that Michael Flynn wasn't still acting on the part of his dictatorship after being fired from the Trump administration. As the Miami Herald reports, it was a fact. Flynn disclosed himself in a declaration to the Foreign Agent Registration Unit of the Justice Department in early March. According to Flynn's paperwork, he was paid $530,000 for work that, quote, could be construed to have principally benefited the Republic of Turkey. The contract ended last November. Following Erdogan's meeting with Trump, Erdogan's oppression of the opposition of his rule took on a surreal tone as the Turkish president watched as his minions physically attacked protesting Kurds on American soil, protesters supposedly protected by the First Amendment.
Somebody ordered them and they just attacked us. We had the elderly, the women are there, and we had the kids with us. And they didn't mind. I saw the little girl on the floor, on the ground.
First and foremost, I will say that that's not something that we will tolerate here in Washington, D.C. This is a city where people should be allowed to come and peacefully protest.
However, Erdogan and company utilized diplomatic immunity to make their getaway after injuring 11 protesters, sending 9 to the hospital. Erdogan personally came to America under the umbrella of foreign diplomacy, yet managed to give Americans a taste of the brutality and elitist power being waged on the thousands of innocent Turks populating his prisons. John Bound for Infowars.com.
All right, and when we come back, we're going to be talking to Daniel Estulin about his new movie, Bilderberg the Movie. He's someone who has covered Bilderberg for a very long time, interested in seeing his trailer and talking to him about the film. It looks like we're seeing some good moves here on the domestic front as well. We see that Trump's budget has leaked out in some sources, saying that they will slash $1.7 trillion in entitlements, cut food stamps by 25%. They need to do it for all immigrants because that's the magnet that's pulling people in. No other country does that. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Democrat Convention. Donald Trump. That's right, folks. Here at the Democrat Party, we don't engage in policy. We don't engage in ideas. We don't have discussion. We just curse and cry and, hey, what did that racist just say? Today's event is featuring the Chrome Dome cursing machine, Tom Perez.
He's a liar. That's what I say, pal. You're right, he's a liar.
And now give it up for the lunatic fringe, Nancy Pelosi, and our esteemed colleague, John Burton, who will lead us in this Donald Trump chant.
Now, all together, Donald Trump. Hey, shut the up and go outside, all right? Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Donald Trump. Shut the up and go outside. Donald Trump.
That's John Burton closing out the 2017 Democrat Senate event in California after he led the crowd chants of F Donald Trump while the audience raised their middle fingers in the air. This is Owen Schroyer for InfoWars, and the Dems have gone mental.
InfoWars has partnered with Defender Body Armor to bring you a new state-of-the-art line of advanced, highly tested body armor from InfoWarsStore.com. Defender Body Armor is certified to protect against all handgun rounds, even armor-piercing FN 5.7 pistol rounds. The secret to Defender Body Armor is its proprietary process and technology that disperses more kinetic energy at a rate higher than any other traditional body armor, using one of the strongest synthetic materials ever created, called ultra-high molecular weight polyethylene. Defender Armor is also super compact and lightweight. There's a reason the Department of Defense chose Defender to manufacture their new line of advanced lightweight armor. It works. Defender Body Armor is made right here in America and has received the highest level ballistic resistance certification from an authorized NIJ ballistic laboratory. Defender Body Armor is now available through InfoWarsStore.com, so you can defend yourself, your family, and finance the info war against the globalists all at the same time. A total 360 win.
Our fellow info warriors across the United States and across the planet really love the Hillary for President 2016 shirts that we began to put out in 2015. It became a global meme against globalism and corruption, and a very strong maxim that's now being continued on today. So we now have George Soros, because the media attacked me on this whole goblin meme. They've made huge jokes about it, but it's totally blown up in their face. We now have George Soros as a goblin on the back, and it says with a cross through him, an X like Ghostbusters, no Soros, him as a goblin. It says deport Soros on the bottom, and on the top it says InfoWars established 1996. So it is a limited edition, deport Soros on the back, Hillary for President on the front, right-hand shoulder, InfoWars.com. It's powerful. Hope you get out to everybody you know. InfoWarsStore.com or call 888-253-3139.
Listening to The Alex Jones Show.
Welcome back to The Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight on this Monday, May 22nd, 2017. Joining us now is Daniel Estulin. He is someone who has reported on Bilderberg for a very long time, and we have here at InfoWars been to very many of the Bilderberg meetings. I went to the one in Copenhagen a couple of years ago. As you go there, what you find is that even though we have the most powerful politicians, the most powerful CEOs in the world all meeting, nobody is allowed to cover it. They don't issue any statements. It's very different from Davos. They'll do Davos, which is all very public and a dog and pony show, but they want to pretend that nothing at all of any interest is happening at Bilderberg. And yet this is one of the key places. Many of us believe that it is the key place because of its secrecy that we have seen over and over again. So I want to talk to Daniel Esterlund about his movie, Bilderberg, the movie, documentary film about the origins, development, and expansion of one of the most elitist secret organizations in the world today, the Bilderberg Group. And he's been following this, as I said, for a very long time. He has written a book on it. We're going to play the trailer here in just a moment. But welcome, Mr. Esterlund.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.
It's great talking to you. Now, of course, the meeting is going to be here in the United States this year, right?
That's what it looks like. It looks like Chantilly again, yep.
Yeah. Okay, so they're going to go back to Virginia where it was a few years ago. And what they typically do, interestingly enough, and this is kind of unusual in that it's not a presidential election year. That's when they like to come to America so the presidential candidates can come in the back door and talk to them about the future, right?
Well, I don't think they have a problem this year because the presidential president is not going to come to any Bilderberg meeting, so they don't need to worry about it too much.
That's right. And there's no election this year. Tell us a little bit about the movie.
Well, the film has actually been in making for about 4 years. It's been a long slog, to paraphrase, the former Secretary of Defense, Rumsfeld. We got into this, I think it was the year 2012. I had a well-known Spanish real estate developer who loved my work approached me about making a documentary about Bilderberg. Well, we signed the papers. The script was ready to go, and I think we're about 3 or 4 days away from actually embarking on a worldwide tour of doing the interviews when, if you believe the conspiracy or coincidence theories, 3 banks folded his loans and basically ruined and destroyed him financially.
Wow.
So that was the end of that. About a year and a half later, someone else came in who's a Spanish film director, and he bought out this old, unfortunate man's share of the film, and I put the other half in, and so we decided to make the film. The film was done last July, it was, I believe, or last June. When he came to me, he said at Baker & Taylor, that's the subsidiary of the Carlyle Group, the Bushes, the Bin Ladens, and so on and so forth, the good guys. They bought out his half of the negative. And I thought to myself, okay, this is funny. So Baker & Taylor making money off of my film. I knew basically we weren't going to see the version that I wanted to show. So what I had to do is what took us after 3 years of painstakingly interviewing people all over the world, I had to basically go back and re-interview everybody in 2 or 3 months' time to get the movie done and up and running. And that's what basically we did. And so it's my film. It cost me almost $200,000 US of my own money. So there's no, IBM or Coca-Cola or, any other major league sponsors involved. It's all my hard-earned cash. But the film was done, and it's ready to go. And now we're doing the U.S. premiere here. I'm in New Orleans at the Britannia Theater on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. It looks like it's going to be, standing room only, almost sold out. So I hope people can make it. And
right. So this Wednesday in New Orleans. And what's the theater again?
It's the Britannia Theater,
okay,
and it starts at 7:30. People go to the website, BilderbergTheMovie.com. That's where I'm seeing it on the screen. That's right. And there's going to be a conference after the film. We'll talk about Donald Trump. We'll talk about the economic meltdown, why Trump became president, who the people behind Trump are, and how the entire situation fits into the Bilderberg dialectic. So I think, again, it'll be my first appearance in North America in almost 10 years because I've lived in Europe for a very long time until recently I moved back to Canada.
Let's take a quick look at the trailer. It's about a minute-long trailer. And then when we come back, I want to kind of get your take as to some of the things that you said you're going to be talking about in New Orleans. Give us a quick little overview, your take as to how things are looking with Donald Trump. Of course, he had some very promising things to say as a candidate, and I'm curious to see how you think, here we are about 5 months or so into his administration, what you think in terms of what you've seen. Of course, he's going to be leaving from Israel, going to Rome. Then he's going to be going to Brussels. And, that, and according to, we take a look at the people who are in his cabinet, too. But we'll talk about that when we come back from the trailer. Let's take a quick look at the trailer for Bilderberg, the movie.
The first step necessary for actually winning is to know what the war is.
Imagine a private club where presidents, prime ministers, international bankers and generals rub shoulders, and where the people running the wars, the markets, and governments say what they never say in public.
under the guise of saving banking institutions, which they saved temporarily, they were effectively taking unpayable debt, huge quantities of unpayable debt, and transferring it from private corporations to governments.
But the primary goal is to defend the status of a unipolar world.
And the paradox of this project, this supranational European project, is the least popular it becomes with the people, the bigger mess it creates, the more power they get at the centre.
It's a war against a concept of man which is evil.
Now that looks excellent. Great production values there. I'm interested in seeing that. Tell me what you think about Donald Trump's presidency so far, because he had great things to say before the election about globalism, and then we see a lot of Goldman Sachs people coming into his administration. We see people like Jared Kushner and the influence that he's having there. What is your take so far as to what we see and what you think is going to happen with that kind of a cabinet?
Well, first of all, Trump versus Clinton, the whole battle was for survival of two economic models, which simply could not coexist. It was a struggle between the transnational powers centered in the person of David Rockefeller, now luckily dead, transnational bankers, call them World Company Limited, corporations who have more power than any government on the planet, and the globalists versus the non-American financiers centered in the city, which is London, part of the British Empire, Hong Kong, another very powerful city-state, which is the world center for money laundering, drugs, intelligence, and British control. Singapore, which is part of, again, the British Empire, Asian operations, triads, Russian mafia, and so on and so forth. Leftover elite circles of the British Empire, the Rothschilds, European elite represented by the old European aristocracy, such as, for example, the House of Saxe-Coburg, Austro-Hungarian aristocracy, Ottoman nobility, and, of course, for the most part, by many American intelligence agencies, with the exception of obviously the CIA, I think some circles of the FBI, and maybe the DEA. If you kind of look at the people again, Trump came in because the people behind the liberal banking financier model lost power because that model no longer made profits. That model has been running for the past 500 years since about the discovery of America in 1492. Let's call it central banking warfare model. It's based on infinite growth on a finite planet, something we know just doesn't work. And we actually, the breakdown started in 1991 when the Soviet Union melted away, disappeared, lost the war. Call it what you wish, but basically capitalism, which needs continuous expansion in order to make the system work, realized at that point was the beginning of their own end. And so we saw the first jolt in the year 2000 with a blowout out of the dot-com bubble. In 2008, we had Lehman Brothers collapse, which again, the world economy was about to explode or implode. 2012, for the first time in over 100 years, Obama, I don't know if you remember that, David, he eliminated all Goldman Sachs and JP Morgan representatives from the White House Economic Council. And then in 2014, Obama limits the emission of dollars, basically arguing there's only enough money to finance the U.S. economy. And this is what Trump is saying. We cannot save the world economy at the expense of the U.S. economy. We have to save our economy, at the expense of the world economy. So we cannot print the money that they need, to paper over the world financial crisis. And then in 2016, of course, you had Brexit and Donald Trump's victory. So the transnational elite power group, they lose power, and also access to the money strings. And again, today, if you kind of look at the size of the economic problem, it is of such magnitude that it simply cannot be resolved through government intervention. You're looking at $10 trillion of global debt, bonds, securities, derivatives, which are being negotiated and traded at negative interest rates. World debt is 226% of GDP. U.S. debt is $20 trillion. European banks are leveraged at 28-1. So even the slightest change in interest rates would basically lead to a global economic collapse. In the United States, you have almost 100 million Americans unemployed, 50 million surviving thanks to the food stamps. Then another important index is the CIA Misery Index, which is calculated based on real inflation plus real unemployment. That's at 32.89. And as a comparison, during the darkest period of the Great Depression, it was 27.
Let me jump in there, because you're talking about the misery index, and I think they understand that there's this great group of people. They were called the deplorables by Hillary Clinton. Macron called them essentially les miserables. Okay, so same thing, right? And yet he won in France with the backing of the Rothschilds. So is the empire striking back? And are they going to handle this unrest by a mass migration, a people replacement, and create a civil conflict within the countries? Is that the way they're going to handle this at this point?
Well, it's a very good question. Again, as you said, the empire is always striking back. They're striking back at Donald Trump via the corporate media, via the liberal circles, because again, the people who lost power, which is your liberal banking financier elite, they lost power to the isolationists and people who have the idea of
Hang on, we're going to have to take a quick break. We're talking to Daniel Estulin about his movie that's coming up, premiering this weekend, Bilderberg the Movie. We'll be right back with more of Daniel Estulin.
Imagine the world without InfoWars. The globalists have already consolidated their power. They don't want people to have their own economies, their own choices. When you spread the links to Infowars.com news stories and our videos, when you tell friends, family, and neighbors about our free iPhone and Droid apps, or send them a link to our daily podcast, you are involved in a revolutionary act against tyranny. It was George Orwell that said, in a world of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act. That's why I spend a lot of time trying to not just innovate news and analysis and our fight against the globalists, but also thinking about how we're able to fund our operation. That's so critical to prosecute an information war. And I've spent 7 years off and on trying to get a big national brand that's already trusted to let us private label an entire line of personal care products that's organic and high quality. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we have private labeled it. And it is the exact same product, just the name is different, Emmerich's Essentials, and it's on average 20% off what it would be in stores, buying it directly from InfoWarsStore.com. On top of that, if you sign up for auto ship, you get an additional, out of the gates, 25% off on this product. Emmerich's Essentials is all about personal care, hygiene, not getting skin cancer, not getting bit by a bunch of bugs and gnats and mosquitoes. It's all there. The body wash, the shampoo, the deodorant, the mouthwash, all of it is truly game-changing. BOA spray, totally organic, essential oils, works a lot better than the toxic chemical systems that are out there, and it is comparable in price, and again, it's concentrated. The deodorant is amazing, high quality, doesn't have the aluminum garbage in it, totally natural, works great. SPF 30 face and body lotion sunscreen, unscented. This is exciting because so many of the so-called sunscreens that are out there are toxic. As everyone knows, I'm obsessed with win-wins. 20% off what it is retail, because we cut out the middleman. And then additionally, if you sign up for auto ship, out of the gates, 25% off that, because I want you to try these products. I want you to love these products. I want to have a deeper relationship with you in a 360 win, a non-zero-sum game where you get high quality, you get value, and you repeat order something you need every month. And then we're able to secure our funding into the future to not just stay at the level we're at, but to grow in the face of enemy attacks. InfoWarsLife.com, InfoWarsStore.com, and you'll find Emmerich's Essentials. Alex Jones here to tell you about how you can help spread liberty worldwide while also enjoying what I have found to be the best tasting 100% organic coffee on the planet. For more than a decade, my favorite coffee has come from the high mountains of southern Mexico, where the Chiapas farmers grow their unique shade-grown Arabica beans. We have now managed to secure these sought-after beans in a highly customized blend. Discover and try a bag of the Patriot Blend 100% organic coffee at InfoWarsLife.com. This coffee gives you a long, smooth pick-me-up for hours without the headaches and heartburn that so many other coffees give me personally. Hands down, this is my favorite coffee, and it's taken us years to secure connections directly to the Chiapas Mexican farmers. Drop by the site today, order a bag or two, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Available in original or with our immune support infusion blend. You will be supporting a free press, all the while enjoying a truly great-tasting cup of my favorite coffee. Available at InfoWarsLife.com.
leave me, I won't miss you.
Welcome back to the Alex Jones Show. I'm David Knight, your host. On this Monday, May 22nd, we're talking to Daniel Estelin, a longtime Bilderberg investigator. He has now produced a documentary on Bilderberg. You'll find that at bilderbergthemovie.com. And, of course, Bilderberg is spelled B-E-R-G. You can find information about that. There'll be a premiere this Wednesday evening in New Orleans. He'll be premiering his documentary. And I think it's interesting, Mr. Estelin, for many years, people mocked us, all of us, when we talked about Bilderberg. They tried to pretend that it didn't even exist. And I think there was a turning point. I'm curious to see what you think about when that turning point was. It seemed to me like they started to acknowledge their existence openly and come out and engage with a press release, at least, saying, well, here are the things that we talked about in secret. It seems like that was like in 2013 when they had the UK. And then in Copenhagen, we were allowed to get like right across the street from them. We were very close. We got a lot of pictures of them meeting with each other, pictures that were taken through the windows as they were going jogging. But then in most, and we see now since then, since 2014, you go to the Bilderberg meetings, they've kept people at a very far distance away so that it's very difficult to even get pictures of the people who are coming and going. You have to take their word for it as to who's even there, let alone what the agenda is. What do you think about this, the fact that this is